Hello and welcome to what are we up to? We're up to reflection number 6. Today's reflection is going to be on self-reflection and an idea dump. Before I get into the reflection, I thought I would talk about what I did this week. I posted the How to Quill an Orchid video on Monday, and on Saturday I had a great quilling session with my cousins. So we made a rainbow scene and I started making a cactus. I posted on their 30-day challenge. So the very first prompt was cherry. I posted the quilled earrings. So that was yesterday, being the 1st of November. And today is the 2nd of November and the prompt is geometric. I'm going to post the logo that I made that's a circle and it's cut into quarters. And then for the candy, let me know your thoughts. I've got 2 options. The first option is these they kind of look like hard candy earrings. And then the second option is from this advertisement that I made last year, advertising my quilling classes that I hosted. And this is the candy canes. Do you think it should be candy canes or the hard candy earrings? Today's reflection, it sort of talks about the genesis of how this came into being, like the Quilling Quarter channel. The better part of 10 years, I've always had in my head that I'd like to start my own business, my own small business. Definitely, I never have in my head that it's going to be something that I do full-time or that's my only source of income, but it's something that's my own. So I've had in my head that I've wanted to do it for years and I've just never done it. There's a public figure in Australia called Scott Pape. He's the Barefoot Investor, and I've been following him for quite a few years now. I read his finance blog, a few of his books. In the middle of last year, he had this thing called Side Hustle Month, from your kitchen table to $500 in your pocket in 30 days. The key thing with Scott Pape, the Barefoot Investor's lessons and how he imparts his wisdom is that a lot of life and a lot of things he says is very simple, but the key thing is it's not easy. Starting a business or sitting down and doing some self-reflection, it's simple, but it's not easy. He broke down the side hustle plan into sort of 4 weeks, and in each week you would do a couple of things. So all I'm going to talk about is week 1, where he asks you to do an idea dump. So you sit down for half an hour to an hour in peace, grab your cup of tea or coffee, and you sit down and you make 13 lists. I thought I'd actually go through the lists. It might be an idea for you to do it at some point if you're interested in doing the same sort of thing. And I'll give the answers to some of my questions because some of them are probably a bit too personal. The first one was 10 hobbies or interests you've had in the last 10 years. My hobbies are photography, making videos, writing my travel blog, doing Toastmasters, organising events, travelling to 40 countries, collecting art, doing photo projects, teaching swimming, and decorating or rearranging furniture. The second list is to write down 5 things that friends or family have asked me to help them with. 5 things I've helped my friends and family with is taking photos for events, rearranging furniture, helping with computers, teaching swimming, or planning travel. The next list you had to make was you had to list down 3 things that you would do for 3 hours for free on a Saturday. I listed a photo project, plan a trip, or clean or rearrange my house. Next list is list any topic that you've read more than 3 books on. So I've read a lot of biographies and a lot of books on sociology. And then you had to list down any magazines, websites, blogs, social media that you regularly consume. So I won't go into all of them, but in general, they centre on photography, politics, self-help, sociology, finance, movie analysis, comedy, geography, psychology, history. And then I listed each of the specific blogs and social media and websites and magazines I actually read in those categories, but they're the sort of main categories for me that I regularly consume. The next list was 3 times in the last year that I've been in a flow state and enjoyed it. First is editing footage, second is cooking, and third is planning travel or planning events. Next list is any job that I've had for more than 1 year. I had my waitressing role for many, many years. I worked overseas as an analyst, and then my current job. And then you had to list any clubs that you've been a member of. 5 interesting or unusual experiences that I've had that most people haven't. These are the 5 that I came up with. I've lived in 7 cities in 4 countries. I've hiked Nepal and walked the Camino. I've visited 40 countries, life modelling workshops, and I've made 15 videos of my travel and photography. Then next is to list major educational or training experiences that I've had. I've got my degree and I've done Toastmasters awards. Any topic that I've written 500 or more words on purely out of interest. For me, I've written my travel experiences in my travel blog, I've written my diary, and I've written fragments of a novel that I've kind of got formed in my head but have never really gotten anywhere. Second last list was 3 to 5 things that people have paid me to do outside my normal day job. First for me was rowing coaching, swimming teaching, and serving drinks. Lastly is products or experiences that I know really well. Travel, photography, such as lighting and framing, and living or moving to a new city. Based on the answers to these questions, the next thing that you had to do was list 10 business ideas. So things I came up with was event or portrait photography, videography, freelance swim teacher, event planning, social planning. Then from that list, you had to write down one idea that you'd stick to for now. So you don't have to stick to it forever, but one thing that you'd stick to. And I at that time, 18 months ago, when I wrote all of this, I picked event planning. And spoiler alert, nothing happened with it. The reason why I'm going through this now and talking about this barefoot side hustle month exercise that I went through was because writing it really forced me to reflect on myself and what I'm good at, what I enjoy, and where my skills are. And even though so I did that in June last year, so about 18 months ago, that didn't lead anywhere. Like none of those ideas that I came up with for a actual side hustle, my own little business, didn't eventuate. But that self-reflection was so invaluable. And it wasn't until I think it was September that I read that blog that I mentioned in my very, very first video on this channel, the My Modern Met website, where I saw Yulia Brodskaya's work and came across quilling for the first time and just got hooked straight away. I sort of had thought about what I'm good at and what my interests are and, what I want to learn more of. And the really interesting thing about this channel, even though I'm not making any money from it yet, but it really does combine all my hobbies that I've had in the last 10 years. Photography, making videos, writing, Toastmasters, which is all about presenting and presenting confidently, organising events, collecting art and photo projects. 70% of what I had listed as my hobbies are combined into this project now. But anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself because what I should have mentioned is I did this exercise where I wrote those 13 lists. I did that in June 2019. Then I read the My Modern Met blog in September 2019. In October, I started quilling myself, and I realised that there was no one. I didn't find any quilling classes in Sydney because I really wanted to learn. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I'll learn myself and then I'll host classes. And so a couple of pages later in this book, my quilling pilot class was the 2nd of November 2019. And from November to December, I made about $1,000 hosting classes and selling cards. And having this barefoot side hustle month and, going through all the things that you'd need to know and not wasting time on business cards or websites, like they're the things that you do later. And an important thing that Scott Pate mentions in this sort of action plan is to not get distracted by things that you think are important that really aren't. And so if you don't have a business, there's no point making a website or having a business card. That comes later. The important thing is what you're actually going to do and what you can sell and how you can actually make money. It framed my thinking in a really useful way. Yeah, it made me think a bit more clearly about what I wanted and how I could do it. The timing worked well, obviously, because we're coming into Christmas and people bought Christmas cards from me, so that worked out nicely. We moved house, so it was pretty difficult to try and keep hosting classes. And then as soon as we moved, COVID happened. And as I mentioned in that very first video on this channel, like, I would love to keep hosting classes because I love it, and I like being with people and meeting people and seeing how they create. That's why I started it. It wasn't necessarily to make money or to make a profit. It was just to be with people. And then COVID made that impossible. It's led to this channel. I'm not sure where it's going to lead necessarily, but I know that I'm enjoying it, and I hope you're enjoying it as well. Forcing myself to do these self-reflections, these video reflections, it is simple, but it's not easy. And that's the key thing. So writing those lists is very simple. And, of course anyone could do it, but the people who do it is a whole lot less because it takes time and you have to actually do it. And that's not easy. Yeah, really salient point, I think. Let me know if you find these reflections useful and if you would do these sort of self-reflections as well, like that idea dump. I know I found it really useful, and the crazy thing about it is I didn't find it useful immediately at the time. I did it in June, and I didn't actually execute anything until November. And even when I was doing it in June, I'd never heard of quilling at that point. So it just is really amazing, like forcing yourself to do things. It clears up things in your mind, and you just don't know where it's going to lead and when you're going to use this knowledge later. And so looking back, it's nice and easy. But at the time, I was like, I'm not going to have my event planning business. That's not going to work. But yeah, then it's evolved to, hosting classes and selling cards last year. And now it's evolved to this channel. I'd be keen to hear your thoughts. Let me know. So what's in the pipeline for the next week? So I'm working on the 30-day challenge pieces. So the next one for tomorrow is the candy. So whether I'm going to do the candy cane or the hard candy earrings. And then celebration, backpack, autumn zodiac. So what I'll do is, once I posted them all, I'll show you them next week, what I worked on. For the next video coming up on Friday, probably Saturday I'm thinking, just because I'm still in the middle of actually making the piece, is the logo. So I'm going to talk about how I quilled my own logo. And I'm really hoping to have some animation. And I also have, I don't want to show it now because I have a surprise and I want to show it for the first time when I actually post the video. I think that's it from me. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. And I'll see you on Friday. Goodbye.